Welcome to the Real CP Show. I'm your host, CP. And today's topic 260 million damage reparations from Afghan evacuation at facilities. Again, the topic for today is 260 million damage reparations from Afghan evacuation at facilities. Shh. So unfortunately, the American blacks overall only have half a generation to one generation left before the overall complete destruction of the American black culture. Unfortunately, there's too many internal problems, and many times it's because of internal self-hatred and jealousy and other different things, right? From generationally design and on purpose uh, behavior that's been done by supremacists and other anti-black rhetoric type people. And those effects are still continuously not being addressed in a way for corrective injustice and balance, or corrective injustice balance, otherwise known as reparations for generational black pain. And the thing about this topic, because this is a form of reparations in this topic, because here it is, they talk about reparations from an Afghan evacuation of 260 million. And you have personnel and some diabolical little satanic demonic little mindset that try to be that will be like, why you gotta talk about Afghans? It's not all symbolically. I'm like that. I'm not listening. I'm I'm getting away from parasitic, deflectionary mental trickery tactics. As I get older, and especially even more now, my patience is like at 65 degrees below zero. I'm just not listening to nonsensical behavior and excuses and illogical rationalizations, and especially toward the American blacks overall. I'm not talking about the sellouts and gullibility ones that don't even understand that they're being used themselves in the society, and especially when you got numbers of American blacks in this gullible state of mind that still allows quite enough people to put them inside a people of color and minority diluted category, right? Oh, we got to have inclusiveness. We got to have diversity. You say, what in the no cone's tail of nonsense, how that sounds like? Where is all this inclusiveness? Where is all this diversity? Where is all this people of color? Where is all this minority, right? For generations of black pain. Where's all these different categories in the Civil War, right? Where American blacks are still getting lynched. Where's all these different categories when uncalculable number of millions of American blacks were on plantations? Where's all these different categories where American blacks after the Civil War were still getting lynched, still being formerly segregated? Where's all these categories after going in 19th century, going to the 20th century, which was just last century, when American blacks were still getting lynched, still getting formerly segregated, still getting formerly hated? Where's all the different fringe groups at? Where are these various types of Hispanic people at fighting for American blacks? Shh. Where's all the different Asian groups at? Don't even make me laugh at that. Where's all these different type of? He's like, which Asians, which Hispanics? Where's all these different type of what we call American Indians? Where are they at sitting there fighting for the American blacks? Shh. Don't make me laugh. on that. It's not even funny. See, the thing about it, the system of supremacy, the most awesome mental manipulation force has ever existed. They sit back and crack up all the time over American blacks' refusal overall to understand that beside numbers of personnel within the predominant culture, to me, that's beyond logical sense. Collectively, various parts cannot stand American blacks. Don't want us to hear anything about reparations. Got all excuses in the world. But then you ask the question, oh, okay, so you have a problem with American blacks getting reparations, but you don't have a problem with what we call Native Americans getting generational reparations. How foolish is that? Because I would ask this direct question specifically to how many personnel within Paname's culture did you have anything to do with what we call Native Americans being put on reservations? Did you have anything to do with, white men, white women taking their land? Did you have anything to do with that? And of course, they'll say, no. Oh, but so you got a problem with American blacks that's supposed to get earned reparations for generational black pain. But you don't have a problem because of that silly mindset, right? Or that demonic mindset of certain ones, right? That have this still anti-black mentality, right? But at the same time, you say, where's that lava flow against Harvard numbers of Native Americans that are sitting there getting reparations still? And watch how many get very quiet. See, that's logical analysis. See, the thing about it, see, the system knows. Yes, they know it's coming soon. The finishing up of American blacks collectively that are going into finishing destructionary mode. It means American blacks don't even understand it. And this is why, however many different cultures and backgrounds, certain types of maternal lifestyle categories, et cetera, are doing this. Yes, this is what they're doing. Because they said however many different personnel within no Pacific cultures, various parts of Padau-based culture. I'm sure they talk to each other like, man, I don't know these Negroes. Oh, this gullible. I know they're just gullible. And many of them be like, yeah, they are. They've been around a lot longer than most of us in this country. They've been through the most hatred than anybody else in this country. That have been the most discriminated in this country. Have had the most laws and policies against their culture, and they still can't get a reparations. And over here, anti-Asian law, real get that real fast. Harvard knows personnel within Asian culture get Harvard types of what do you call it reparations. That C-19 happened. Harvard numbers of them got multi-millions of reparations. And Harvard numbers Hispanic person who know they are get some kind of form of indirect or direct reparation. Somebody say, I didn't get it. So what? Go to HELL. Harvard numbers Hispanic people who know they are that do get some kind of reparations. And especially look at the DACA program almost a decade ago that was supposed to be about basically granting amnesty to some youth who were pawns by their parents or parent. And you know what they're doing still too? See, this system, so they love American blacks to be gullible. Oh, they love it. It's like I want you to imagine this picture for a second. Yes, because this is the way they look at many numbers of American blacks. This looking gullibleness, buffoonery, right? Nonsensical, no logical thinking. And like in this topic, 260 million damage reparations from Afghan evacuation at facilities. Let's go into something for a second. Let me show you something. Let me show you something for a second. Look at this map for the United States on the left to way over there in Afghanistan. Way over there across that big old giant Atlantic Ocean, going across many different type of countries to get to Afghanistan. And how many uncalculable number of Afghanistanians have and are still getting reparations? Socially, economically, educational. Let's show this again. Infant research. When you look up the top country that gave the most reparations, the most monetary assistance, et cetera, it's not other countries around the globe. The number one country that gave the most reparations without batting an eye is within this country. Without batting an eye. He said, "Where's all this lava flow from various personnel within the Panama-based culture? You don't give me that little sidetrack, devil, demonic little sidetrack switchery tactic. Because again, you know what? That war still went on regardless for what, a couple of decades, longer than the Vietnam War. And we start looking at the amount of resources, money, the anyway, the other different things that went toward the Afghanistan war, reparations, it's almost sickening. But at the same time, American blacks, right, who have been the most discriminated, racially discriminated, have been the most racially oppressed, the continuously most racially hated over generations. And you got some foolish people that continue talking about, I ain't got anything to do with it. You see that nonsense part? And see, again, I have to say this again. Some of the same type personnel, again, have to ask this question. Did you have anything to do with the what we call Native Americans being put on reservations? Did you have anything to do with sitting there uh, uh, taking their land? Did you have anything to do with that? And again, how many people from within the Panama-based culture? How many of Hispanic personnel? How many of Asian personnel? Would be like, I ain't got anything to do with that. And how about other different cultures and backgrounds? What about certain types of alternative lifestyle categories? Did any of them have anything to do with removing what we call Native Americans from their land? They'd be like, I have nothing to do with that. But how many people, right, taxpayers' money and still going toward what? Reparations for what we call Native Americans. Just like in this category, and get into the article, it talks about how military bases had about 260 million in damage from the Afghan evacuation. Let me repeat this again. It talks about how military bases had 260 million in damage from the Afghan evacuation. Right? 260 million damage reparations. They went toward an Afghanistanian reparations. And again, you have somebody say, well, it wasn't all. And by the way, I'm utilizing those things as fair usage doctrine. So getting back to the article, I want to get it back to the article on this. Talks about how military bases that house tens of thousands of Afghan refugees in the US incurred almost 260 million reparations, basically, for damage that in some cases rendered the buildings unusable for troops and for troops until significant repairs to walls and plumbing are made. Let's say this again. Military bases that house tens of thousands of Afghan refugees in the U.S. incurred almost 260 million in damage that in some cases rendered buildings unusable for troops until significant repairs to walls and plumbing are made. Reparations. It talks about how over 2 weeks in August 2021, this certain type of service managed the largest humanitarian evacuation in its history, airlifting 120,000 people from Afghanistan in just 17 days. The bulk of those passengers were Afghans fleeing from the Taliban. I'm not going to say the other word. From the Taliban rule, and the U.S. aircraft delivered tens of thousands of those Afghans initially to bases in Qatar, the UAE, Spain, Italy, Bahrain, and Germany. It talks about how, after processing, many of the refugees were basically flown to various types of military bases, and uh, once they were processed, and housed within those bases, and for resettlement, reparations for helping however many of Afghan personnel get resettled, bring them over to the U.S., provide whatever shelter, provide whatever food, provide whatever baby equipment, baby food, etc., etc. And you don't hear a peep out of most numbers of personnel within the Paname's culture, nor various other cultures. That form of reparations. And when you sit and look at what's going on in Afghanistan now, you say, wait a minute, there's still all kind of boom boom conflict still going on over there. There's still all kind of nonsensical stuff happening over there. Some people say, oh, that's a humanitarian crisis that's still going on over there. But how many Ukrainian personnel down in the U.S. said, I ain't got time for all that no more? Getting free resources. How many of them sitting there getting free housing now? How many of them getting free education? How many of them getting free business grants and loans? But American black folks can't get no reparations. Well, you say, hey man, where's all these Afghanistani personnel in the Civil War? Where's all the Afghanistani personnel, right, in the American Revolutionary War? Where's all the different type of Afghanistan evacuees sitting there? Where are they at? Black folks sitting there having form of segregation policies and laws that was going on just last century. Where's all this type of Afghanistani evacuees that's getting free resources and repatriation resources and housing and food and again baby equipment, etc., education, etc. Where's all these different type of Afghanistan evacuation personnel? Right, where are they at now in the 21st century when American blacks are still going through black pain? So in continuing, it's ridiculous. So in continuously and continue with the in this article, it talks about how the refugees again were housed in these various types of bases. Not going to go on all that. It said the sheer volume of people in the temporary housing left those the sheer volume of people in those temporary housing left those barracks and buildings with significant wear and tear. Let me repeat this again. The sheer volume of people in the temporary housing left those barracks and buildings with significant wear. They say, for example, of the 260 million of the 260 million approved restoration costs, talking about reparations. For example, of the 260 million in approved restoration costs, this particular agency approved about 16 million for this particular base to replace mattresses and furniture and repair floors, doors, windows, plumbing, fire alarm systems, and landscaping. Mm. So 260 million repair reparations for numbers and numbers and numbers and numbers of Afghanistan evacuees and whoever else, but primarily that would have been Afghanistani refugees at those various bases. I just read you that. And how many of them are doing this? But again, American blacks overall, and I'm not talking about the sellouts and the gullible ones and the ones that keep thinking, look, they got on top because of corporate or the business because of their hard work. Man, please go somewhere else. It ain't about an individual American black person doing something successful, foolish person. It is about a collectivism. One Asian personnel does not sit there and make the collective Asian people successful. It's not one uh, Hispanic personnel that make the Hispanic culture or cultures successful. Foolishness. Because you like, which Hispanic personnel? You do realize keyword Hispanic means Spanish, right? People who speak Spanish. How many countries? Just like we say Latinos. Which Latinos? Which Latino countries? Foolishness. Because American blacks don't have a polynithic, I call it, it's a polynithic background in America. They are of one monolithic American black. So beyond logical system, and it's insulting when I don't see through it, I observe through this stuff, left, right, up, down, sideways, perpendicular, whatever it is. It's so ridiculous that you got personnel that know they're getting these reparations indirectly or directly. And it's like somebody slapping the crap out of black folks' faces overall who don't even recognize by the millions that how many illegal border breaking, illegal immigration personnel that are getting reparations and laughing at black folks as well. American blacks don't even realize what's going on with them. That's a form of reparation as well. Helping border breaking, illegal immigration personnel who are laughing themselves. Asian person who know they are the ones that got that anti-Asian law. He said, wait a minute now. Wait a minute. So you got some Asian personnel that's just gonna pop up, just popped up in the country. I'm talking about the ones that pop in the country, what, a couple of days ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 25 years ago, and bam, anti-Asian law, just like that, passed. What? But the number one most hated people, stat wise, is still American blacks, but they can't get no reparations and can't get no Pacific law passed for them. What an insult, right? You got the DACA program that was more toward Hispanic personnel, the ones I'm talking about, again, that we're using or still use youth for pawns, right? To break border immigration laws. And they know what to do and how to get free resources, reparations, baby formula, how the ones get housing, how the ones that sit there and get all types of different type of resources and stuff like that. Free educational classes, free lunches, reparations for personnel not even legal. You see how nonsense this is? It's one thing where you're trying to help other people out that was going through different things, different cultures, not a problem. But at the same time, how numbers of same personnel that having to have the nerve to look down upon American blacks for without the American blacks, many other cultures, backgrounds, etc. ethnicities would even be within the country of America like that. And unfortunately, this is not the topic for the show now, but how many unfortunate American blacks that are walking around gullible don't understand that they are being used when they talk about people of color and minority categories. And as if in closing, just as this particular topic in 260 million damage reparations from Afghan evacuation at facilities. How many American black folks every day go through black pain? How many every day, how many American black folks go through racism? So at the same time, it's like when people say the most, some you got a person that'll say this idiotic statement too. They'll say underrepresented. What does that mean? Well, we got to help the underrepresented. What does that mean? So again, that's another dilution game, right? The Afghanistan personnel evacuees, they could be considered underrepresented. Do you see the game of this? So this is why, unfortunately, I have to say again, the American blacks only have half a generation to one generation left before the overall complete destruction of the American black culture. Because this is what's going to happen. And so they know it. The system knows it because the system of supremacy is the most brilliant mental manipulation force that has ever existed. And this is what they want American blacks to continue to keep doing by the millions, with few exceptions. Okay, be mesmerized. So I thank you for tuning in to the Real CP Show. I'm your host, CP.